Hello and good morning, everyone. How you like our new intro? That's something new. We have a new month, so we thought we'd try something a little new. So please, we'd love the feedback on the intro. My name is Stephanie Van Bark, and I'm a small business owner. Today starts two very exciting months. We have National Women's Small Business Month, and we have National Arts and Humanities Month. So, with that in mind, our next guest actually kind of falls under the umbrella of both. We have Deborah Magdalena. Here she is. How are you today?
Wonderful. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for the Magdalena. You got it right on point.
Yes.
And I am so notorious for misspelling and saying the wrong name. So I admire you for that because I mess up my own artist names. I saw the video the other day and I messed up like two artists' names. So thank you for that.
Ooh, look, I really try to make sure I get people's names right, and and apologize profusely if I don't. So we are very excited you are here today, because you and I had a brief conversation prior to, and I feel like we're on the same page, definitely with where the arts are going in the world of entrepreneurship. We'll start by asking you who you are and what do you do.
Well, my name is Deborah Magdalena. I am the founder and executive director of Spoken Soul Festival, but I'm still so much more. I was born in Puerto Rico. I was raised in New York, and I'm seasoned in Miami. I am a performing artist and an arts educator. I like to consider myself a cultural curator, darling. Yes, that's what I call myself because I work with I'm blessed to work with all the top organizations in town, and I'm really focused, and my mission in life is always to inspire women and to inspire our youth.
Okay.
So I come from an artistic family. I've been around for years. Did everything.
Do the math.
Yeah, did film, TV, theater, a writer, and but right now I'm really trying to hone in and focus on supporting other women artists and including myself because I have not created in a long time. And because of this thing we're living, I actually created new bodies of work. And so I'm excited about getting really back on track about creating and supporting other artists, which is a business in of itself.
Which we are definitely going to delve into a little bit. And it's interesting you say that because I've had a chance to talk to some people in the artist realm on this show, and most of them have been excited about just the downtime to really delve into their creativity again.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, you are an actor, a poet, a creator, an entrepreneur. I'm interested to know how through the years, your life as both an artist and an entrepreneur, how has it evolved?
Well, one of the things that has happened, sorry, I forgot to turn off my phone. I think that falling in love with Miami early on helped me. Because when I made the transition initially to come to Miami, it was a time where you had to create your own work. It wasn't like I could just get up and audition and get the gig. So early on, I had to learn that I had to come up with a Deborah Magdalena business plan. So even if that business plan was, how am I going to get in front of the casting director? How am I going to get an agent? How am I going to get the agent to not only sign me, but to call me on everything that comes in? How am I going to improve my relationship with this casting director? So I think that early on, just being an actress and how I approached getting those gigs eventually helped me and is still my backbone today of creating relationships. And I know I still have to do better at a business plan. I still have to do sometimes better with budgets and things like that. But still creating the relationship and creating value to your product, even if that product is me.
Okay.
And understanding that Deborah Magdalena, I am able to talk about her as a product that has absolutely nothing to do with me. I think that also helped. As an artist, we tend to be overly sensitive, which I am. But you also need to understand that you are a product and you can't take things personal. Like Stephanie, you may write a film right now, and in your mind, you are seeing a blonde opera singer, and she is now working with homeless people. That's your film.
Right.
Comes in, she looks exactly how you visualized her, but she's whack. Here comes in this Puerto Rican who doesn't know how to sing and nails the role, but in your mind, she's still somebody else. So if I don't get it, it has nothing to do with who I am.
Right.
It has to do with what you're looking for. So I hope that what I'm, so all those little tiny things have helped me evolve into the entrepreneur that I am today, which is still creating relationships. It's still about networking, and it's still about always creating value to your product. The product is Deborah Magdalena. Rather that's as an educator, as an artist, a host, whatever that is.
So do you find that both exhilarating and frustrating that, sort of your product is your talent? So, you've had to grow sort of this thick wall, but how do you maneuver that landmine, not just emotionally, but financially? How do you maneuver that landmine professionally? And how do you get ahead of the game as you start to grow this product?
Pray.
You heard it here first, people.
And I do a lot of prayer, because I love that you said landmine, because that really is what it is. And I'm still able to say, listen, I still have budgetary issues or whatever, because in this industry, you may have an influx of income, and then you still have to be able to budget yourself, because there'll be a dry spell, right? This is the most unstable industry in the planet. And I think that has really any entrepreneur will go through when your product has a plateau, or something like that. So I think that not just creating value and not just understanding your product, that your product is not for everybody, right? Your facial cream may be great for you, but may give me hives.
Absolutely.
Right. So still creating that value, but also I'm seeing this chart, where you have the product in the middle and then you have all these other outbreaks and stuff. For example, yes, I am an actress. That is first and foremost. That is my core. But I've had to learn how to take that and educate. Learn. So now I'm going into the schools and arts organizations. Okay. Well, now I say I'm a writer, but my grammar is kind of whack, so I really can't say that. So I was spoken word. Okay. So how do I take my little limited writing and bring it on stage? Okay. Here you have spoken word. So I guess it's learning how to brand.
Streams of income. Yeah. The different streams of income that keep you afloat, which it sounds like. So,
which is exhausting, by the way.
It's kind of nonstop. And so to that point, I think the pandemic actually has really shone a light on that small entrepreneurship in various industries. But what is interesting about yours is this is sort of your life. You've always sort of had to build in a pivot plan to what you do. So if you could talk through a little bit about how you started to really, what types of examples of where you've had to build in those pivot plans when those ebbs are not flowing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Can you project them? Can you see when they're coming?
No, not really. Right. And I think that maybe I can't, like, when this whole pandemic happened, of course, what I do in my income right now, the chunk of it really comes from community outreach, comes from producing, comes from, working a lot with schools and arts organizations that work with schools. So for me, everything was shut down.
Right.
Everything. So theaters, events, a festival, school, everything is shut down. So it was shocking. And I think everyone went through that seriously shocking period. But I also had some chuckle. Like, I'm a caregiver and everyone's complaining about, oh, my child, and I'm trying to work. And I'm like, honey, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world.
Exactly.
You got to do 5 billion things. Stop complaining. Put on some sweats and just do what you got to do.
Right.
But retroactively, thinking I think that, for example, the move for me from Miami was big. My brother, Nestor Torres, was living here already. So when my parents retired, I kind of convinced them, let's all move to Miami. But I still did a lot of gigs, and I was still commuting between New York, Miami, and LA. After 9/11, we lost someone, and I was in LA at the time. It just shifted my whole world that I could not get to them right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why then I just said, F you Hollywood, F you everything. I'm going back to Miami. But now Miami is like, wait a minute, I'm not casting as much. There aren't as many calls out. It's only commercials and not as national. And now the shift is because there aren't the tax breaks. It's not like the 90s where
Right.
movies were happening all the time. And then so that's when I said, okay, now I have to create something for myself. And so I started diving into spoken word. And for me, my biggest lesson has always been, no matter how old you are, if you're going to try something new, if it is doing a new soap line, if it is doing spoken, whatever that may be, you have to study it. You have to do some kind of homework. And I think those are the two big things that have helped me, is that I try to study what I'm about to do before I even get in front of anyone, before I even try to do it. So yes, the business plans, yes, follow your dreams. Because if you're going to work 15 hours, even if it's in your home and so it's, creating soap, let it be the most delicious soap you ever make. Let it be the most delicious food that you're making, whatever, if it's the most beautiful embezzled masks, whatever that is. Yes, you have to have the obvious business plan, blah, blah, blah. But you got to educate yourself. You got to see other people. You want to know, you want to either emulate this person, or, I don't want to do that. But you know what? Maybe I can take this from Stephanie and I can take this from Deborah and bring it to my own.
Okay.
So for me, that's very important. And I was raised that way too. You could do anything you want, but you got to be passionate about it. And you have to somehow educate yourself. Girl, and now we have Google and YouTube. So hey, no,
now, when you were doing your research, though, not only in regards to your craft, were you also looking at the market, the potential for the market, what venue is going to draw the biggest artists, what audience is going to, how are you going to tap into that market, to that group that's going to come to your product? What was it? It was a full-on business plan.
And I thank you for asking that. And I'm going to be as authentic and vulnerable and open about it, that has been my biggest failure. So if anyone is watching and anyone wants to follow their dreams, take it from me, you really do need to think about these things. I was so engulfed in the craft and learning and building relationships, and still to this day, I really should be a millionaires. With the contacts that I have, the careers that I've launched, the people, I really should. I financially, I should be in a completely different level, completely different bracket than I am right now, because I focus too much on the product.
Okay.
It is important to know your market. Not only to know your market, but to know how to reach them, and not just think they're going to come.
Build it and they will come.
Now more than ever, we have to work harder to reach them, because now everyone, because of technology, their attention span is 3 seconds. So if you don't slay it in 3 seconds, 5 seconds,
it's gone.
And now you're competing with vulgarities and just other things that we never had to build or worry about before. So that has been a struggle for me. And I think it's important for entrepreneurs to be that vulnerable and honest and say, you know what? I need to work on this.
Right.
And so, yeah, I have these credentials. Yeah, I have like a 5-page resume. Yeah, I know everybody. My phone list is pretty impressive. But if I would have focused a little bit more on that plan, or if I would have thought about the market, how to reach plan A, plan B, it would have shifted things. And so I invite any entrepreneur that's watching, no matter what it is that you want to do, it is very important that you come up with plan A, B, and C on how to reach your market and how to monetize from your market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which brings me to your pricing. How do you set pricing for what you do? Especially with different streams of income, actor, producer, educator. How do you?
Right. Well, I remember that a friend of mine, Lonnie Johnson, who's a visual artist, I saw her coach one of our new visual artists, and they kept saying, I don't know how to charge. I don't know how to charge for this painting. And what do I charge it for $50? And she's like, honey, no.
Don't do that.
Right. So But it helped me kind of explain how you do come up with a price. And so she walked it down, and bear with me, it's about visual arts, but I think it helps anybody in any kind of business realm. How do you gauge your worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is, how much is supplies at cost? So for me, if it's how much is my internet costing, because I have to use my computer or I have to use my printer, I need paper to print things out, I need a journal, I need a pencil, get that meticulous about how much do supplies cost. How many hours did it take you to create this work? So if I'm going to be doing a presentation, it's not just showing up for an hour. It's going to take me at least 15 hours to prepare for that 1 hour.
Yeah. Right.
You know, the research of, for example, the school, the teacher, I have to learn the discipline or what am I going to be talking about? If I'm going to be talking about Stephanie, I have to read your bio. I have to read your videos. If I'm going to do, a chat with you, a TED talk, whatever that is. Okay. And now based on the hours and the materials that you bought, now you can kind of gauge on that. Right. And you always deserve more than minimum wage.
You all jokes aside, you really do tap on the right thing. that it is more than minimum wage, especially if it is your talent that you really
exactly.
It's your expertise. It's what the craft. You're not just bringing. I heard someone say once, you're not bringing what you did today. You're bringing your decades of experience and expertise. That needs to be included in the pricing as well. There's a reason why you're there.
Exactly. And then from that, I've also kind of learned, I'm like, you're going to pay me how much to do that? Okay, well, that's my new rate now. Thank you for teaching me that the minimum, I remember, I think it was Ingrid B. She's a known promoter locally, and she was talking about Asia, a poet, and she's like, I won't say the fee, but Asia doesn't come out of his house unless he's got this. And I'm like, okay, that just gave myself a raise too.
Right, exactly.
So the same way, you look around how supermarkets and things, you look at the prices around you as well, you gauge that in there. Right. Because you see other poets, and the minimum is, and I'm just going to say, because this is simple math. Let's say if you know that the hottest venue is paying each featured poet $10, then, and you know that you have much more experience than those featured poets, I'm gonna ask for 20.
Right.
So on and so forth. Right. So okay, if there is an average for teaching artists, a teaching artist can get paid anywhere for an hour, anywhere between $50 to $500. Rather if it's for the day or whatever. So you gauge, you put all of these things just like you would for a product. How much is that soap being sold there, and that soap, and what are the ingredients of this soap versus the ingredients of that soap? Right. So you can't just say, I'm worth $1 million. No, you have to really, and I'm so grateful that I heard Lonnie break it down that way. So now I have my price chart. If you were to call me and ask me, Deb, how much would you charge? My first question is, okay, is it a free event? Is it a community event? If it's benefit, if it's a benefit, who is it going for? How many people? How many hours? I mean, I go into this question, and now I have a chart.
Good. I mean, that's actually a very interesting way to break down what your ask is. That is.
Yeah. It's so that I have also learned the hard way, going back to how to best monetize, how to best reach your market. And I really hope that whoever's listening and watching us learns that early on. Right. Don't let 10, 15 years, I just was talking to our festivals consultant yesterday, and he's like, well, we need to talk, because even after this year, you and your team, y'all, we've been volunteering ourselves for 13 years. Volunteering ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds wild. That sounds beautiful. But when you're working 60 hours, it's time that my team and I get paid.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
So it sounds great. The collective is volunteering to collect, but you know what? I'm a caregiver. We have kids. We have spouses. We have bills. We got to eat.
Absolutely. Pay your mortgage. I mean, just simple things. Simple things.
No.
So, are you a sole proprietor? Are you incorporated?
Yeah.
And is it wise that you think in what you're doing in the industry that you're in for someone to incorporate
Yes,
someone?
absolutely. Because for tax reasons, you're able to write more things off. For example, if you are a performer, I can write off my makeup because that's part of my job.
Right.
Not just to say, oh, I can write off my makeup. No, honey, if you're gigging, you're going to need a whole lot more makeup than some other people. If you are a presenter, you're going to need, a certain amount of shoes or what, look for the image and also for comfort. A car, I remember my great aunt, she was Ruth Fernandez, a legend in Puerto Rico. And she always said, you always have to make sure you have a nice car, because she was known for having a pink Cadillac. Like she was like one of the first baritone voices in the world, and one of the first Black women that would demand to walk through the front doors in Europe and things like that. She was Ruth Fernandez. She's worth Googling. But anyway, she always had a Cadillac, and she always says you must always dress well. You must always have the best car, even if you only have $10 in your purse. Well, how am I going to do that? She says, because if you're going to walk into the room and demand $10,000, you better look like
$10,000. Good point. Very good point. Never thought of that.
So it's like, so being it, whether if it's an LLC or S corporation, even if it's just you and your parent, it doesn't have to be huge. And I think when you do file for taxes, you can do them jointly, but you do have certain, abilities to write certain things off that you normally wouldn't as an employee or as an artist. Although, I'm not an accountant. Some people don't, they just prefer to pay their taxes however, but I think it behooves you, and you'll have more benefits, even if it's just a small, like a shell corporation for yourself.
And you talk about expenses. You talked about some of them, and you're right. In sort of a creative space, there are definitely some write-outs that are helpful. Have you had to learn that along the way, or do you have an accountant that specializes in some of those expenses? And
no, I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
I learned that the hard way.
Opportunities.
Yeah, it was the last series that I was on. And so I was getting paid straight as an actress. So when it came to
you got hit hard. Oh my God, I've been there.
And it's just like, okay, I get it why sometimes rich people don't want to pay out so much money. I get it. It hurts. I get it. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Can I claim this? Can I claim that? And I just, and I had to travel every week to go to the set and blah, 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 blah. No, because you need to be incorporated to have that. So after
as an individual, you couldn't claim a lot of those makeup and
all of that. I couldn't really to the level that I had spent the money.
Okay.
Like, I think you can a little bit, but I mean, that's an extreme example. I remember when that show was canceled, I cried because it was the best time I've ever had. It was back in the day. Remember when there was UPN, the WB,
right,
and Aaron Spelling. It was an Aaron Spelling series, and it was Safe Harbor with Gregory Harrison and Rue McConnell. So it was shot in Jacksonville. I was able to buy a home. I was able to do all of these things. But going back to what I was saying earlier, you've got to have your business plan and your monetary plan. Those 2 years I made so much money. But then shortly after that was the writer's strike, the director's strike, and then 9/11. And so I didn't have any form of income for a year and a half.
Wow. Yeah.
So you need to know that, you have to save that money. And luckily I was incorporated. So even though I didn't have income, I still was able to have some expenses. So I think now everything is Googleable. I didn't know this before. We didn't have YouTube.
Learn that the hard way for sure.
Yeah, but now you can pretty much ask for tax advice and get some kind of guidance somewhere on Google.
Somewhere on Google. Now you have Well, let me ask this before I get into that. Were you able to benefit from the CARES Act or any types of loans during this pandemic, or gig work or
Yes,
unemployment?
as a gig worker, I was. As a gig worker, I was because, um, without saying too much in certain organizations that I work with, one organization has had to now, because I've been with them for so long, shift my role into somewhat of an employee role.
Okay.
So that helped me along that with my other incomes to become a gig worker, which
Okay.
which was a new thing
Right.
at the time, that allowed you to receive, unemployment. There were other grants too that I was eligible for, that because
Okay.
that was part of the CARE grant, so I was able to apply for that.
Okay.
Um, the Miami-Dade's Cultural Affairs Department has been impeccable with trying to support the community. They've been asking all artists and arts collectives and organizations to do like a survey. And that's how they've managed to really be able to have large donations. And they've
Nice.
had all sorts of mini grants, and from $250 and up for artists and arts organizations. So I'm very proud locally of how the artists were somewhat taken care of. Um, Maybe some had more needs than others, or
Mhm.
didn't have savings. Again,
Right.
going back to savings, how important savings was, because before we figured it all out, it was easy about a month and a half.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. We were 2 months in. So before it's so
Anything
hit
really
you,
came in.
this
Right.
thing is not going away, very
Right.
much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so let's go back to your career here. I noticed on your bio, I have it here, you have been nominated for quite a few awards and recipient of quite a few awards. You were nominated for the Poetry National Award in 2013 for your Best Album of the Year, which was Funkadalena.
Yes. Go ahead, Miss Stephanie.
I said it right. I said it right. I practiced too. Uh, the Jenny Duana Light Bulb Fund
Yeah.
Award from the Miami Light Project 2012. The
2012.
Tabari Award in 2013, nominated for the Troy Poet Lewis Community Outreach Award by the National Poetry Awards, which is a very impressive resume. I'm wondering if, you watch the Oscars, the Emmys, people get a lot of awards, and you sort of expect that. Um, now this is going to be a big launch for your career. Like, now you are on your way. Is that true? Or is that you kind of, great, I won an award and now I've got to get back out there and hustle and demonstrate my abilities to continue my career?
That is such a good question. It really is, because I actually talk about that a lot. And I don't
Okay.
think people realize that. And awards are important.
Mhm.
Like, you're reading those awards and it's like, okay, yeah, great. But I'm thinking in the back of my head, damn, Deborah, you got to get your hustle back on.
Right.
That's not enough. Because it depends the award you're receiving.
Okay.
If you are going to go after, you get an Emmy, even if it's for what you did locally, an Emmy, an Oscar or Grammy, or even like for the young artist, receiving a Young Arts Award for any young artist, or Presidential Scholar in the Arts for a
Mhm.
teenager,
Right.
is an Oscar. And I always say, you and I are looking into each other's eyes, even through the computer. None of us need to be validated. We are simply validated for being alive and having this conversation, and that's a beautiful thing, right?
Mhm.
But the reality is, there are some perks that you need from some credentials and some outside forces of validation of your craft. And so it is important,
Mhm.
because and that's different for each industry. My love, Kane, he's um works with Allstate. I hope he doesn't get mad that I said that. He hates social media, anything else. But anyway, I've learned about, but the point I'm bringing him up is because in his world, there are certain awards and certifications that another level,
Mhm.
like untouchable, another level, right? And so I've learned that, and it's making me think to, like, I need to work harder.
Mhm.
Awards are important. They don't define you.
Right. Absolutely.
but they definitely make someone, it definitely makes you stand out even more. And it makes people say, I do, they're just, instead of those 3 seconds, they'll give you 5.
Fine. To talk about the awards.
Or just wait, this person won that award.
Okay.
I wonder how and why. Let me see. Even if it's with a side eye, let me see if she's worth it. Let me see if they're worth it. It still gives you that extra look. I tell kids all the time, if I told you I hit the lottery and I line up a bunch of amazing directors and you can choose anyone, but listen, by the way, the one over there in the corner, he's an Oscar winner.
Right. It definitely changed the scope. Do you think it changes the scope between men and women in this industry? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I've never been one of those that, woe with me.
Right.
We have a lot of work to do, and we have managed this festival, even if the whole world doesn't know about it yet, we have managed to launch over 120 careers. We've been working for 13 years and dealing with women artists that have never even been on a show or done a show or sold a piece of art. Right. So I don't do the woe with me thing. Yet, even within the industry of the women's market, which is a powerful one, we're the CEOs of our homes.
Absolutely.
Even within that, there's definitely awards and opportunities for you to be seen, appreciated, validated. Again, not you, the person. We're talking the product.
With the craft, yes.
When you go buy a bottle of wine, if you see that it has a certain emblem on it, I'm going to try that.
That's true. That's very true. You may not even know what that emblem is.
Oh, but it could be from Hialeah.
It's gold.
It could have been my padrino, Tata. Lo hizo allá en Hialeah. Oye, Tata, necesito una
But it's got a gold star on it, so I'm going to get it.
And it's Deborah's got it in Hialeah.
Do that.
And you're going to like it.
You make up that you like it even if you don't, because it's got a gold star on the bottom. So then let's open up and talk about Spoken Soul Festival. I would imagine you said it's been around for 13 years. I would imagine it has grown exponentially. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and what are you having to do differently this year, considering the COVID-19 scenario. Tell us all about it.
Well, Spoken Soul Festival started very selfishly. I have to confess, I was inspired by a woman by the name of Martha Richards from Women Arts. So any women artists out there, you really need to go to womenarts.org. It's a resource for funding, for grants, and really great opportunities for women artists. And she, set a collective out there to create an annual event to support your women artists that would happen in March. I said, there's going to be a perfect time for me to do a show all about me, for me. And I'm going to have my girls produce it for me.
That's about me.
Quickly on, they checked me and said, it's not about you. This is a much bigger view. It's we did have other women artists, but the response, the audience, it was just, this is so much bigger than you. And within 1 year, we went from a 1-day event into a 3-day event where we did community outreach. We did Saturday was the main event. And one of the founding members and artists, Amy Bias, was already doing a brunch in honor of her sister called the Vanessa Bias Memorial Women's Brunch. And it was really talking about extraordinary women. And so she said, well, I'm already working on this focus, so why don't we just put it together? Perfect. And that became our fundraiser, our soul fundraising event. So every year we've had to do it bigger, but consistently we've always worked up between 10 to 15 artists, and it is multidisciplinary with a spoken word base artist track. And this year was going to be our biggest, baddest, fiercest year ever. We have been lucky enough to have a co-presenter, the Adrian Arch Center. This would be our 4th year. And so we have a theme where we ask the artists to create work based on this, whatever theme of that year is. So being 2020, the centennial celebration of the 19th Amendment, of course, it had to be women's right to vote and women's equality. And during our research, because we do the research, our producer Veronica came across this exhibit and this artwork of Nina Allender in political art with the Women's National Party. And Nina Allender, back in the day, they had the newspapers. They didn't have photos. You had to do illustrations. So she did all the illustrations during the movement to pass. And somebody found the originals in somebody's closet in New York.
Nice. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the Arch approved it. We acquired it. And Rosie Gordon-Wallace, the fabulous one, Auntie Rosie, agreed to be the curator. We were going to have a panel. We were going to have a kickoff event. We were going to have high schools and middle schools come visit the exhibit and do this interactive activity. We were going to have the showcase, and it was going to be in the Peacock Room. And the production director of the Arch, Mo Baisley, he had an all-women crew. The first time we we're going to have an all-women crew. Ooh. It was, oh my God, the sound. We're going to have bleachers, different levels. It was going to be so epic. It was going to be. We had so many, because the brunch, we have swag bag. We have so many originals and for the auction, we have originals signed by celebrities and posters and Representative Joseph. Oh my God. Dottie Joseph was going it was going to be everything. It was going to be everything. 15 artists, everything.
And then
less than a week before we had to reschedule. COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. You had
the date was March 19th. So I chose to say, okay, we're not canceled. The word that they used was we are going to postpone.
Okay.
So I chose to hold on to that because a lot of shows were canceled.
Yeah.
And that is very different than to say postponed. But then became, what are we going to do? Are the artists going to stay on? We don't know how serious this is. If we can't make any decisions.
Right.
The artists haven't gotten paid yet, and they did some kind of work. And then it was the wait and the wait and the wait and the wait. And it's like, okay, well, even if we open up, who's going to go to the theater? Who's going to be safe to eat? Okay, now we officially have to cancel the brunch. We can't reschedule anything other than the showcase.
Right.
And now, okay, well, when's the date? It's been really exhausting. And finally, we just decided, you know what? For me, it's important that, especially because we were awarded a grant, the artists need the money, even if it's small. They need the work. They need the outlet. The community needs to see something to do it. So we're going to do it, premiere on live stream on the Arch Center's YouTube channel this Saturday at 7 p.m. We now have 10 artists, and it's been still collaborative work. We still managed to try to create some collaborative work, even though it was virtual.
Right. Right.
And it is still virtual, and we are really excited about that. And a lot of things have happened too since March that as women artists, I think we need to tap into.
Absolutely.
So we will be doing that, but also ending with an uplift. We have to stay positive. We have to stay motivated. And so, it's been a year. It's been quite the year of. I mean, for me, it was very emotional, the exhibit. First of all, because all the things we went through, girl, I thought that you could I don't know anything about visual arts. Talk to me production.
But you don't know anything about that art world.
I'm thinking, well, it's just some sketches. It's just some pictures. Let me go FedEx it. And then I pay the FedEx insurance.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Have you ever been around anybody during Art Basel? That is a major thing.
Right. But I'm still thinking.
It's not that big of a deal.
So when the bill came for insurance, and when the bill came for shipping, and you see that she arrived in like a 16-wheeler refrigerated.
You weren't ready for that.
It's a little crate. No, but I was excited. We never even got to open it. Like all of that stress.
So where is it now? It went back?
It had to go back.
Really?
It's so by the time it came, We were scheduled like 2 or 3 days in or something because Auntie Rosie was traveling. So we had the installer, and even then, it was a whole week schedule of, you have to open it, you have to let it breathe, que si yo no sé qué, que si la pared, que si the vinyl tech and all of this stuff. So we could not open it until Rosie was there because she's a curator and she's responsible for it, right?
Right.
But then it became like, well, no one's allowed in the building. And then, well, now what? Now we have to talk to them, and we're like, so it sat there until
it had to go back
till July. No, because they were shut down. Think about it. Everybody was shut down.
Right. So you couldn't even see where it came from. That's crazy.
So
it took sponsorships and grants and all this funding to get to this point on March 19th. But how has that affected those relationships or those funding opportunities? And, what are those tried and true methods of securing that kind of funding in the past? Can you do that now in this new normal?
And this is what we have to work on. Correct. Because our fundraiser is the brunch.
Right.
We had to cancel that.
Right.
Right. So now it's like, okay, we have already that fund. So it just stayed there until now we can do this. But then that is a fantastic question. And now that's why we're applying for grants now. And that's why we have to reach out, because next year for us is already around the corner.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if my normal sponsors will have money the way they did.
Yeah.
It may have to be virtual again. Even though we're in phase 3, and I know that the Arch is doing a great job about sending everyone an email to fill out a questionnaire to see how, safe they are. But the reality is, there are people out there that are partying, but I don't know how safe our market will be. And they won't even be allowed to come the way they would normally come.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
300 people in one room the way I used to.
Which means, as a sponsor, am I going to see the value in that same investment? Yeah.
Hey, though, it's just how you position it. Because if you're doing virtually, that, like right now, we're going to do our premiere on YouTube. Now the show is going to be online forever. In the past, you saw it in person, and it was a great experience, but you really only got little clips of it.
Right. Absolutely.
So now a sponsor, whoever our partners are, they're like, made sure that I gave the shout outs to the partners that have been with us from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
So there's still an opportunity, I think, and higher visibility to go the virtual route. But the in-person is just so magical. The in-person really is so magical. But that's something that I've learned that we've had to shift, and I've had to go back to study how to do virtual events.
Right.
If it's pre-recording versus live stream, like you, I'm sure, have had to your email, you realize this platform is better than the other platform. Getting lights, get a microphone. Making sure that even if my office is a mess, this corner has to always look good. That's the way I go. That's all. That's just right there. That's it. Don't ask me.
You're brave. I'm not about to move my camera anywhere. Nope. This is the wall.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of trial and error, and it's going to continue to be. It's going to continue to be. And then on the other hand is the overhead won't be as high.
That's true. That's very true. I think with the onset of this whole online platform, it's really, especially in the creative realm, I think it's really been refreshing to figure out how, and I feel as this new normal comes along and we move forward and we're now able to go out without masks, that this will be a way.
Wait a minute, you going out without a mask?
Not right now. I'm not. No.
Okay, good.
Oh no. When the CDC says we might not die.
Right.
I'm waiting for Dr. Fauci to give me the answer.
Yeah, right. That's right. Right.
So, but this might stay as part of the way we present creative works, visual arts, performing arts. that this could be a really fun way to incorporate and really share what you do around the world, not what's within your backyard.
Right.
So that should be it should be a really interesting thing to see as we move forward, for sure.
Yeah, that has been also in just lots of discussions and articles that I've read, the dangers of when everyone was doing these free concerts and everyone, you're not paying. No one's going to pay to see you virtually.
Yes.
And if they pay, they're going to pay maybe $20 to see the film, to see a symphony play. They're not going to pay the 100 and something for that experience, because now they're in their pajamas with their, award-winning wine.
Yeah, that's true.
So the overhead is not as much. The quality may not be the same, but there's still dangers of people losing work. I mean, I know Columbia Records, I forget the name, but I mean, there have already been known agencies that have gone bankrupt, that are the ones that tour and represent, symphonies and orchestras and things of this nature, that they cannot travel. So if you think about it, things like that are really going to really suffer.
Absolutely. And I don't come back from that.
Right. And I have no idea.
How do you put together a 30-piece, orchestra that had fell apart for 2 years? How do you bring that back together?
Right.
And put them on the road?
Right. And it's also because, I just don't know. And that's so frustrating. And I try to I am staying hopeful. I am positive. I am inspired. I'm just sharing the frustration of the unknown.
Yes.
That's been always a very frustrating thing for us to deal with anyway, the unknown, but really the unknown.
Right. Absolutely.
I really, in my heart, I'm really starting to have serious conversations with my family and with my team. And we really need to have a completely different long-term plan, because I really don't see this changing in another year.
I agree. I agree. And I think this will, as you mentioned, sort of shake up the industry a little bit to start really having those long-term considerations. We may never have another pandemic. And I know here in South Florida, we're always concerned about a hurricane, which generally puts us out of commission, maybe 5 days, 10 days tops. But it's going to have to be a very different conversation about the longevity and the value that we put into this work.
Right.
You have two fans. We have Aisha Manning and we have Ava Lampkin. Hello. Thank you.
Wait, Aisha and who?
Aisha Manning.
Yes.
She wants to ask, can you ask for donations during your virtual show to help a bit with funding?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I was still Aisha asking me a question. She's wonderful.
Good. She just wanted to know if you would consider asking for donations during your virtual show to help a bit with the funding.
Thank you for that. That's a very smart idea, and I would love that. But when you are in partnership with different organizations, you may not be able to do that. And that is a good thing. And it's like a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. I don't want to speak on behalf of the Arts Center. I will only speak of Spoken Soul Festival. When we are in partnerships with others, we have to consider what their needs are and what their regulations are. Mm-hmm. And if they have other community partners. So for example, if we start asking for donations, then now every other community partner is going to start asking for donations. And then what about them who are struggling right now? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. So we've had discussions like that in the past with other partners too. And we were going to do that. But at this moment in time, what I did ask was I can say, visit our website. Okay. And then go to the website and ask for donations. So that I will be asking Aisha, and I will be looking for you to be donating at least $5. You're going to go to spokensoulfestival.com. And then you're going to blast on all your social media with your beautiful picture. And you donated $5 for spokensoulfestival.com. So every time I do get a chance to say that, we can. But when it's really bluntly like that, it gets really tricky when you have real, true partnerships. Both entities have to be mindful of mm-hmm. the relationships that the others have with other people and so on and so forth.
And tag me, Aisha. I'll definitely donate.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Before we leave, I really wanted you to once again sort of share, announce the spoken word. I definitely will donate, is what she said.
Thank you.
Share, where can we find Spoken Soul Festival? Where can we find you? And we will be posting it on social media right after we hop off the show.
So please save the date. It's this Saturday. Saturday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. on YouTube, the Arts Center's channel, which is youtube.com/Arts Center. We're going to have a lot of fun, and that's where you're going to see Spoken Soul Showcase Volume 13. We are spotlighting 10 super talented artists. You're going to have some visual artists, spoken word, of course, singer-songwriters, and we're going to have a really, really great time. Feel free to go visit spokensoulfestival.com. In the alumni tab, you can see all of the past artists and learn more about them and follow them. You can see and learn more about the featured artists this year. And there is that donate, and it is tax deductible because we do have a fiscal agent. So you can please feel free to donate there. Our handles are all Spoken Soul Fest. Make sure that it is us, because somebody now in Toronto. Wait. I'm not frozen, but I need to take a dramatic pause.
I understand exactly what you mean. That's happened to me too.
So, but that's okay. We're in the middle of trademarking, but there's a Spoken Soul. There's a
whole nother show. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. There's a Toronto something. You just make sure it's all girls and there's a goddess. Okay. Spoken Soul Fest. And for me, it's just Deborah Magdalena or Funk Dalena. But more importantly, right now, what I really want to leave with is just leaving everyone inspired to follow their dreams, and leaving everyone inspired to know that no matter how the darkness, no matter how frustrating, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have a meltdown, but just shake it off and keep it moving. Put some perfume on and lip gloss and you're going to be all right. And please check out Our Spoken Soul. It's not just the artists that we want, the platform, but our team. I have to mention Amy Baez, Veronica Barrios Garcia, and it's Silveria, Susan Alvarez, and Natalie Lewis Shakur. These are women that have literally donated hours and hours and hours, especially this last year, to really work with these women and give you some kind of entertainment. And so let's just stay hopeful, stay inspired, wear a mask, wash your hands, and still keep it cute, honey.
Thank you so much. I'll be tuning in on Saturday. I think we have Tracy Cabanas, who also says she's looking forward to supporting as well. So
thank you
for joining us, Tracy, and thank you for joining me today.
All right.
Have a great day. So thank you everyone for joining us today. That was a powerful conversation. I knew it would be lots and lots and lots of fun. And my passion is always supporting artists, creatives, and really trying to make sure we understand the business behind that as well. Join us again next week on Tuesday and Thursday. On Tuesday, we'll have Christian Dior from Dior Cupcakes. And then on Thursday, we're going to have Corlette DeVoe with DeVoe Group Insurance, Joyful Heart Adult Daycare, and Joyful Medical Supplies. She's a megapreneur. So those are going to be great shows, 10 o'clock in the morning. Once again, thank you so much for joining us and have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Oh, let me see if I can do my little banner. There it is. Hold on.